Hey, this is Canadian Taxpayers Federation podcast. I'm the Alberta director for the CTF, Chris Sims. I'm here with Franco Terrazzano, holding down the fort in Ottawa as our federal director. And James Wood, he is our investigative journalist. Yes, we have one. He's like our secret weapon, who's not so secret because I can see your face. So James, you've been taking a nice long look at our ministers and our politicians and bureaucrats who like to fly around the world on our dime to climate conferences. The latest one was in Scotland. Tell us about the spending and accommodation habits of Minister Freeland.
Yeah, so we've been doing lots of tracking of the way the minister is spending money going to these conferences. Chrystia Freeland, she really stood out from the crowd at Glasgow because she didn't actually stay in Glasgow. She stayed in essentially the wrong city, nearly 100 kilometers away. So this conference was in Glasgow, but for some reason, she and three of her staff stayed in Edinburgh. Which kind of a weird one there. You think that her staff can maybe take a look at, Google Maps and be like, okay, this event's in Glasgow. We should stay in Glasgow. No. Okay, let's stay in Edinburgh. That's nice and close. No, it's not. So evidently they couldn't figure out Google Maps, and they ended up staying in Edinburgh and having to go back and forth a bunch of times over.
Okay, I don't even know how that happens. Like, did Freeland forget to download Google Maps on her phone before booking this trip? I mean, hold on a second. Like everyone knows that I'm not the most punctual person in the world. Like, I've been lost a few times, but like when I get lost, I go a couple blocks in the wrong direction, not 86 kilometers to another city. Now, my taxpayer spidey senses are tingling. You said she stayed in the wrong city, so I'm guessing there was quite the taxpayer tab that they racked up on our expenses. So James, how much did that cost us?
It was a pile of money, but it was around 43,000 for the whole shebang. But the thing that really stood out to me was because they were in the wrong city, they had to go back and forth over the 2 days that they were there. And instead of, taking a cheap option like the train that goes a bunch of times, they decided to opt for a luxury car service. And it's like a luxury car service. They hired this service that specializes, when you go to their website, in luxury golf transport. That's their main thing. So they spent around $3,000 to do this. They are going back and forth over those 2 days. And the thing is that Canadians didn't have to pay that money. That wasn't the option that they should have taken, that they didn't even take in the first place, because around 121 trains go between Glasgow and Edinburgh each day, and they cost a heck of a lot less than Freeland's luxury chauffeur. Like, she could have gotten to the conference quicker and for less money by taking first class tickets on those trains back and forth direct each day.
So let me jump in. Let me jump in on this, Simmer. Sorry, I have to, because this is $3,000 on a luxury chauffeur service. Must be nice. Because the finance minister stayed in the wrong city. And yes, I know what you're thinking. This is the same finance minister that recently gave a speech about the government's fiscal restraint. Well, I think this perfectly paints the picture of the Trudeau government's fiscal restraint. James, I got another follow-up question. I'm just going to jump right in there. When we originally put out this story, we heard some chattering. Well, I mean, maybe Freeland couldn't get a place in Glasgow because maybe the rooms were filled. So that immediately makes me wonder, well, how many bureaucrats did we send to this climate conference in the first place?
Oh, we sent a pile of people. We sent the largest delegation out of the G7. We sent more people. We sent 276 delegates. That was bigger than the host delegation of the United Kingdom, the folks that actually put the event on in the first place. Like, it's crazy how many people we sent. Now you look at the Americans. The Americans sent 133 people. The efficient Germans, they sent 120. Like, I don't understand. It's hard to imagine why it takes more than 2 Canadian delegates to do the work of one American or German delegate. And the price tag for the entire thing is insane. Like, the trip costs more than $1 million, and that total bill is still being tallied up. It's $1 million and counting. So it's crazy. We send piles of people to these things that we really do not have to do.
And why do I have a sneaking suspicion that this isn't the first time we wasted a bunch of money on one of these conferences? Why do I just feel like that's the case?
Well, because you're right. Like this is a recurring thing. Like Canada as a whole usually sends piles of people more than other delegations from the G7. Like, and actually back in 2019, there was the previous conference, COP25 in Madrid. We sent the second largest delegation, G20 country. That was 157 people, and that cost taxpayers at least $680,000 and counting again, because the bills still haven't been counted up from that one. So it just keeps happening and happening for no apparent reason. I don't understand.
This gets back to just the culture of entitlement that happens in Ottawa if people aren't held to account. I lived in Ottawa for 15 years, worked on the Hill. This is not new. This is not their first rodeo. Everybody bloody well knows how to save money and to not do this. So much so that when staffers are making up and looking at their minister's expenses, they should be being super careful. Like, did you need to charge a per diem today, sir? We're not staying in a hotel that has Prince or Royal in the title of it because we're going to get nuked, even if it's a cheaper hotel. Like, they're usually they're supposed to be able to be cost conscious because we live in a democracy. We all pay the bills. They know this. But unfortunately, if it's a repeated pattern of behavior, it doesn't seem like they care. And they think they can just get away with it. So on that note, like, you've been taking a look at all this research and all this data. Where do you see the solution here? How do we clean this up and make sure this doesn't happen at the next big old fancy climate conference?
Okay, so number one, the finance minister or her staff can check Google Maps before booking their next getaway or the next transport option. And at least that way, we won't be on the hook for thousands of dollars for a luxury chauffeur van going back and forth from the hotel to the conference, hopefully. But the biggest thing is that we could just, take a serious look at how many people we're sending to these things and whether or not they're actually all needed. Like, the government just spent 2 years telling Canadians to avoid unnecessary travel. We'd probably save a ton of money if they followed their own example and zoom into these things more. And also, save on emissions from what they're trying to do with these conferences.
Oh, right. Because it was a climate conference, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, folks, that's all for this week. If you really like this stuff and you want to hear more about crazy waste stories and how the government is screwing you out of your tax dollars, be sure to head to our website, taxpayer.com, sign our petitions, and we'll stay in touch. See you next time.
Hi, I'm Scott Hennig, President of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. If you've got another minute, I'd like to ask you to think about the one person you know that would really enjoy listening to this podcast. Do us a favor and do them a favor and send them a quick note to let them know about it. At the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, we believe there is power in numbers. That's why we've worked so hard to build an army of taxpayers who are ready to push back. And we did it because people like you shared our work with that one person that they knew would really appreciate taking part. Thanks for listening, and thanks for doing your part to make Canada a better place.